right, guys, welcome back to another video. So yesterday was basically the day of Avowed, where we got all of the previews that came out, and there's a lot more information out there on this game. It was one of my most anticipated games. Now with these previews, I am just as excited, maybe even more excited. I think the game does look great. There's going to be some questions, obviously, leading up to release as to will it be as good as other Obsidian games, stuff like that. But there are previews out. Go check them out. We will go over some interesting points that I did see, as well as some screenshots and some good information about the performance of the game. So there's that. There was some big upgrades to Star Wars Outlaws I want to talk about. Assassin's Creed Shadows has some more information. Stalker 2 is off to a fast start, and some sales numbers that we will go over in the gaming industry. But before we continue, if you do enjoy daily gaming news and content, make sure to hit that subscribe, share the video, like the video, all of that good stuff. So yesterday was Avowed. Lots of previews came out. They had invited people to the studio. I believe there was also some remote previews, and a lot of people got to play the game. It sounded like a big chunk of the game, like 10 hours or so, something along those lines. And they were able to give their feedback as to what they thought about it and give us information as to how this game is shaping up. There's lots of previews. Shinobi 602 here on X does a very good job summarizing everything that's basically been said about this game, but I'll go over some of the interesting points. There's stuff about the story and the setting and stuff. Obviously, we know it's in the Pillars of Eternity universe, so that is very cool if you're a fan of that series, and there's a lot of stuff they can draw, so there's all that information out there. But one of the things I think people are most interested in is the combat, the feel, the writing, the choices that you're going to have in the game. And here are some points that Shinobi does point out. It says here, is speaking specifically about the areas and the handcrafted area. It says Obsidian has made it a focus that each area is fully handcrafted and has interesting things to do: bandit camps, ruins to explore, half-destroyed hovels, undead soldiers, etc. It features an open class approach to combat, so you're going to have your backstory, war hero, arcane scholar, etc. And then you determine your starting weapon, but you can find other options as you play, like spear, swords, shields, pistols, and can freely wield them, which is always great to hear, because you start off with something and then maybe get stale, maybe get bored of it. You find something else when you're exploring the world that you like better, and being able to keep that and improve on those weapons is always something that I enjoy doing. It also says here you can store 2 weapon loadouts at the same time and swap between them instantly, including mid-attack combos. So that's nice. Some options there when you are going out there and fighting all of the enemies. Now, in some combat, in terms of how people were kind of explaining how the combat felt. Now, there is, again, if you go through all of the previews, more information out there, but they say combat is described as fast and fluid, managing your stamina meter to dictate your attacks, dodging unblockable enemy attacks, charging up your weapons for stronger hits, and being able to dual wield like double swords, spears, and pistols. Always feels like you have something up your sleeve. Now, I was watching a lot of the videos. Mortismo Gaming did a very long 42-minute, really nice in-depth preview of the game, and just watching the combat and everything, it looked like it was a ton of fun. A game that I think will feel good in the hand. Some people did, however, say that the combat was easy, undeniably on the easy side. Now, who knows if that's going to change when the full release comes out, if they will increase the difficulty, maybe give you a higher level to play, all of that type of stuff. But they're saying it's easy, but that it did feel fluid. And that was one of the things. Combat was a question mark when they first showed off the first preview. People thought it kind of looked a little bit janky, a little bit slow. From the previews, they are here saying that it does feel fluid. Now, when it comes to the leveling system, they say there's a structured leveling system. You spend skill points in the name skill tree like fighter or ranger. You unlock special abilities that run on cooldown timers, mix and match different skills like the fighter's dash tackle and the ranger's magic vines that entangles enemies. I believe I saw some of that stuff in the preview videos, which looked cool. Say there are many choices to make in the game, like happening upon a smuggler in a cage in the first outpost you encounter, whereby she's immediately distrustful of you, and it's up to you whether to release her or not. So choice will be a massive part. I mean, you expect that out of Obsidian and their RPGs. And the question is, how do they write them? Are they written well? Does it have a big effect on the story, on your character? And they do say here that choices in side quests heavily impact individual characters, groups of characters, and entire settlements, factions of people, and the states of the regions that you go through. And they will also impact the choices that are even available to you. Later in the game, you'll be locked or locked out of or presented with new choices based on the choices you made much earlier in the game. That's awesome here. I mean, not surprising, but awesome to hear that there will be impactful choices. I feel like in some recent RPGs that have come out, that's just sorely been missing. The impact of what you do previous in the game, how it affects the future of the game, and actually having to sit back and think about the decisions you make. It looks like this is going to be all here in Avowed. They also say exploring off the beaten path can often be rewarding, like happening upon a ruined tower that doesn't show up on any icon on the map. So that's nice. It's not just going to be looking at the icons on the map and running to it. You're just going to find stuff as you go. Investigating it triggered tripwire traps with swinging blades, inviting phantom enemies, and climbing up to the end revealed a chest with a high quality piece of armor. And they also say here the writing is more grounded compared to the relentless zaniness of the Outer Worlds. Again, not surprised about that, but it does retain Obsidian's trademark humor, but feels more natural to dialogue and less pressure to be quippy and quirky. So those are just some of the points. You can see the summary here is quite long. And again, there's lots of long videos and in-depth information from previews that people have put out. Those are just some of the points that I thought was pretty interesting and kind of knocking off the things that I was wanting to see before the game. It does come out in February. Combat for me is going to be a big one. How fun is that combat? It does look like a lot of fun. I would recommend going to check out Mortismo Gaming's video because a 42-minute deep dive into it, and you can learn a lot about the game itself and if it's something you think you are going to like. Now, the other big question for Obsidian and for Avowed is the performance on the consoles. As we know, there was a video that came out a few months ago, I believe, and they said that they were targeting a performance, the 30 frames per second. But a lot of people were wondering if that meant that was going to be what the FPS was going to be on the console. And we finally have clarity on exactly what that is. And it's good news if you are looking for a performance mode in this game. You don't want it to be held back by just 30 frames per second. Again, this one, I figured this was the case, but we have more clarity here. This is Carrie Patel on Avowed saying, I want to clarify 30 FPS on the Xbox Series X is not our target. We will hit that at the very least. We are fully into performance optimization. We want to fully deliver a beautiful world at the best frame rate possibly can. We're working on that right now. So that basically, I think, tells me that they are trying to get that 60 FPS mode in there, or a performance mode of up to 60 frames per second. We are seeing a lot of performance mode fluctuate between like 40 and 60. I guess depending on what's happening in the game, if the game isn't optimized well. But I think they are going to try to hit that 60 frames per second performance mode for the release in February. And maybe that was one of the reasons why it did get delayed. I know everything we've heard is that it was ready, and it was not because the game wasn't in a good state that they pushed it out. It was more just to get it out of the release schedule, which I absolutely do believe. But at the same time, this also gave them more months to make sure that they can actually have a fully functioning performance mode before the game does launch. I think they definitely need to have this ready. Just up to 60 frames per second, get that out there on day one, because if they don't, you know that's going to dominate and take away from other parts of the game that are great. A lot of people are just going to focus on that and try to tear it down because of that, even if the game is very, very good. So they have to do it, avoid that negative PR. And I for someone who plays on the Xbox console, I hope that they do have it at launch. But that is reassuring here that it isn't targeting 30 frames per second. That is just the least frames that they are aiming for. Here also just a couple of pictures. You can see the aesthetic and the graphics of this game. It looks really, really nice. When you go watch the videos of people actually showing you real gameplay of it, it looks very good. Yes, that may be on the higher end PCs and everything, but I'm sure it will still look good on the console as well. But I'm very excited. This has been one of my most anticipated games from Xbox for a while, and it's getting closer and closer to the release dates in February. So exciting stuff there. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Stalker 2, because Stalker 2 had reviews 2 days ago, and they were so-so. I mean, I think it's sitting around a 74 or something on Metacritic. One of the major issues with that game that people are saying here is the performance issues. I've jumped in for about 2 hours or so on the Xbox Series X. I don't think that's long enough to have any sort of opinion on the game, or even if there are a lot of technical issues. I know I haven't experienced any technical issues yet. It feels decent. I mean, it looks good and everything from where I'm sitting back on a couch on a big screen TV. I'm not walking up to the screen and trying to zoom in on pixels. It looks good to me. And I've already died multiple times right off of the bat. It is definitely a difficult game, or at least a big simulation here where you have to be careful about everything you do. But I am engrossed right away into the world, wanting to see just what this thing is all about. So that part's pretty cool, but I'll be playing more of it and seeing if I do enjoy it and if I do run into any more technical issues. However, when it comes to people actually playing the game, those reviews seemingly haven't heard it. I mean, it is doing very, very well on the charts. This is from a couple days ago or yesterday, I believe. So this could be even higher right now. I'm not 100% sure. But at this point of this tweet, Stalker 2 Hearts of Chernobyl, they say here, is off to a strong start on Steam, already surpassing 110K concurrent players just a couple of hours after release. So it started off absolutely strong. This game is doing very, very good. There was a lot of hype around it. It has a very strong fan base from people who enjoyed the first ones. And that's going to be, I think, one of the main things when it comes to Stalker 2 is that if you're new to the series, it may be off-putting at first if you are expecting something different from some of the gameplay previews that they had put out there. If you're expecting kind of more high octane action, not a simulation style, then you may not enjoy it. It may not be for you. But for people who are fans of the Stalker series, they are going to enjoy it. And if somebody who, like me, who hasn't played the first one, giving it a chance to see how deep am I going to get into it? Am I going to enjoy it as much as some people loved the first ones? Right now, it has my attention. So we'll see how long that does last. But it is doing very good right now for the launch of it on PC. I wonder what the Xbox numbers are, Game Pass and sales and all of that stuff. And you can also go ahead and play Stalker 2 here on NVIDIA GeForce Now. They do say here, Stalker 2 is now on NVIDIA GeForce's Now service. NVIDIA says it's also working with Xbox Game Studios to bring Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 to GeForce Now soon. So those two games are going to GeForce Now. There are issues with Flight Simulator 2024 as of right now, with people just not able to play it because of the whole cloud thing. So hopefully that's going to get worked out, and I'm sure it will soon and worked out before, obviously, it does jump over to NVIDIA GeForce Now. Now, as we know, the Game Awards are upon us, and we saw some numbers last year in the hundreds of thousands of dollars it costs to get an ad on the Game Awards. And I feel like this year is going to be just as much and just as expensive. And Jeff Keighley is making a good living off of all of these award shows. And one of the things that now has been revealed was how much he was charging for the Gamescom opening night live to be able to put your games onto his show to advertise it. And here is what it was costing companies out here. They say the Gamescom opening night live advertising spots cost up to 465,000 euros just to get 180 seconds of time for your game. So you can see at the bottom here, for 30 seconds, 140,000 euros, for 60, 205,000, for 90, 270,000, for 120 seconds, 335,000, for 150 seconds, 400,000 euros, and for 180 seconds, 465,000 euros. And he says that it's because of higher viewership. Prices have increased by roughly 25% compared to last year. Now, keep in mind, this is Gamescom Opening Night Live. This is the amount that is being charged for ad spots there. The Game Awards is a bigger show, I'm guessing. I'm guessing there's more viewership, more people watching it. It's all around the world, everything like that, that everyone tunes in, and the time of it and everything, I just think is more prime time for people to see these things. So they're charging 465,000 euros for 108 seconds at Gamescom. I can't imagine what they're charging at the Game Awards. It's crazy to me because, I mean, it doesn't really seem like you need to spend that type of money to get eyes on your game. I don't know why a company would really want to do that unless they have a marketing budget that they have to spend, and they have a huge marketing budget. And this is an easy way to just offload some of that marketing budget and say that you're doing your job. Because I just feel like in today's world, you give games, you have the internet, you have YouTube streams, streamers, all that type of stuff where people can showcase the game. I think does a far better job than just a quick 180 second spot at the Game Awards or Gamescom Open Night Live. The other side of it is maybe the demographics at these shows are more casual. Like for the Video Game Awards, it's everyone who's watching this stuff. I don't think it's just hardcore gamers. There's people out there who just play a couple of games, maybe not are up to date on everything in the gaming industry, that do pay attention to it, and maybe that's more valuable eyes for these companies. Not sure, but those are crazy prices there for those advertisement spots. Okay, let's jump over here. Let's talk a couple of Ubisoft games. First of all, Assassin's Creed Shadows. We got some more information here on the gameplay and the details of it and everything. We know this game has been pushed out to February with all the controversy surrounding it, but we have some more information about some stealth features and everything that you're going to be able to do in this game. They put out a bunch of videos. Definitely go ahead and check them out. Just kind of giving you in-depth a look at the combat and everything. It looks pretty cool to me. I know people are going to hate on this game no matter what, and deservingly so for certain things, but the gameplay to me has always looked like pretty fun. They look like it looked decent, but they put out some deep dives. For example, you can observe an eagle vision, which isn't really anything new, but they say with the removal of the eagle companion, players in Assassin's Creed Shadows will have to rely on 2 different scouting mechanics. The first is observe, allowing players to identify targets, tag and monitor enemies, and you get collectibles and quest objectives and everything. And the next is eagle vision, which is the stealth mechanic that identifies enemy positions and lets you tag them and everything. And we saw some videos here just exactly how all of that does work. You can see as you're walking through here and just seeing all the enemies that are around you. You can also go into hiding, crouching, going prone, obviously very effective for getting around and not being seen. And some stuff that we are kind of used to here within Assassin's Creed. So it's cool though with all the environments, how they showed this off as she's rolling around, taking out enemies beneath them basically by swiping their feet and stuff. There's some stealth tools that they did show off, like the smoke bomb if you are in a bind where you got to get out of it, or you see enemies below you and you want to just kind of confuse them all. You throw your smoke bomb, you go in there and you're going to be able to take them out. And again, I mean, this looks like it is a ton of fun to me. There is the grab mechanic. So you're taking out your enemies. You can drag them by the neck for a decent amount of distance and hide them into bushes. There is the denied assassination. You'll see what happens if the enemy is too strong. You're going to be denied that assassination. They will throw you over their shoulder, which again looks very, very cool. And then there's also here the Yosuke bow. They're showing more of this and just the combat with the bow itself. So that was some more information on Assassin's Creed Shadows, just more stealth gameplay and just gameplay overall. It will be super interesting to see how this game does take off. It is an Assassin's Creed game. I love the Assassin's Creed series. I think it is a IP that just sells well pretty much no matter what, so I think that has it going for it. But there is a lot of controversy. You have to ask yourself, is that just kind of constricted to online only? There's a lot of the talk about it basically online, and when it does release, as we see a lot of the time, the online talk doesn't have a huge effect on the actual commercial success or the actual real world things that do occur. So we will see how this game does do when it does launch. I will definitely be playing it. The other game that just got a big update, which I jumped back into yesterday for a little bit, was Star Wars Outlaws. And I was a fan of this game when it did launch. I played through it about 50 hours or so. I enjoyed it a lot. It got a lot of hate as well, but I really did enjoy it. But there's a big update here, 10 gigabytes for the Xbox Series XS and the other platforms as well. And some of the major changes here is combat. They basically took away the forced stealth. They made the combat feel a lot better as playing it does feel better. And then there's also the story DLC. They've also improved AI because there was some AI issues at launch for sure that kind of held this game back, but they got rid of those, or from what I've seen so far, it definitely has improved their animations and all that type of stuff. Things like being able to carry the enemy's weapons that you do find has been improved. You can carry them up into different areas and things like that. I'm a fan of this game, so that's why I'm kind of mentioning this here. If you haven't played Star Wars Outlaws, after this patch, from what I've played, the combat itself, I would say, makes it now a good time to go jump in and try it, because it just feels way more impactful as you're going through. And if you hate stealth, now you basically don't have to do any of the stealth. You can just go guns blazing into pretty much every mission. Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake has become Japan's best-selling game of the year. This is via the Famitsu weekly charts, and Square Enix release here took the #1 and the #2 places on the Switch and the PlayStation 5, making it the best-selling game in 2024 in Japan. It says here that Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D Remake has instantly become the #1 best-selling game in Japan for the whole of 2024. The Switch version sold 641,000 copies, while the PS5 version sold 185,000 copies, making for a total of 826,000 copies. This is an old game. They did a really good job here with the remake. I'm definitely going to be playing it at some point. But I really to show you, you don't need those major big AAA bangers to have success in this games industry. This is a remake of an old Dragon Quest game that a lot of people do love. Obviously, nostalgia plays into it, but they did a great job with it. And has the older style graphics. You don't need the big shiny stuff to be able to sell well. I think stuff like this does prove that. But I'll end the video there. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.